Serious Survivor here. And today I wanted to talk about a very difficult subject that we may be facing, something that we probably will see upcoming. And that's a grid down scenario. Now, the election is less than a week away. And, next week things are going to change in this nation one way or another. They may change for the better. They may change for the worse. We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But we're not going to have to wait long. Someone left a comment on the video a couple weeks ago that had wanted to get in touch with me with some information. And he got in touch with me. I'm not going to say any names. He can speak up if he wants to in the comments here. But he sent me some very relevant information, some very in-depth information. And it got me to really thinking, and it got me to thinking pretty hard about this subject. And, that's the subject of a grid down. What better weapon to use than to take away people's electricity and to take away their water supplies? Because for the most part, with a grid down, then your water purification, water treatment plants, they're not going to be functioning either. So you're going to lose water pressure. You're going to lose water before long. So this is a tactic that I feel like is very possible to be deployed against us. Now, there's a difference between an EMP type of grid down event or a civil unrest or a targeted grid down event. And the big difference is with an EMP, we know an electromagnetic pulse. I'm not going to get into the physics of it, but we know the effects of it, that it's basically going to damage or even destroy the majority of our sensitive electronic equipment. And that's going to cause a situation that's extremely difficult to recover from. But I don't see this as being an EMP attack. I don't see us getting hit with an EMP after the election or during this civil unrest that follows. What I see are more targeted attacks. What better way to isolate a population, say New York City, Chicago, Detroit, areas like that, than to isolate the power? You don't have to take down a power plant. They don't have to go bomb your nuclear power plant or take it over. All they have to do is take out the substations. If they take out the substations, then you're going to cause a grid down effect in a very, very large area. And this in turn is going to cause a loss of water, a loss of communications, and a loss of civil services. So if we picture this for a minute, there's already major civil unrest. There's riots, violence, burning, looting, robbing, stealing, killing. There's a lot of stuff going on. And if the grid goes down and our civil service departments lose communications, they're not going to be able to respond to any of this. The fires will begin to rage out of control. The civil unrest will grow to a proportion that we haven't seen it before. And it's going to be almost uncontrollable in a lot of the larger cities especially. Now, the major cities are going to be the ones impacted the most in the short term, in the beginning from this. Because if we think about rural environments, or even suburban to a degree, but rural especially, if you live in a rural area, then you probably have better access to things like food and water. Because if you live in a high-rise apartment in New York City, you're not going to be able to hunt, to fish, to gather water, things like that. It's going to be a very difficult situation. So it's going to have an immediate impact on those in the heavily populated urban areas. Those in rural areas, don't think that we're out of the woods because you're not going to be. It's not going to be immediately as soon as the event happens, but it's going to trickle down. It's going to filter out. It's going to spread out from the cities because people aren't going to stay in these cities when in this type of environment. A lot of people will attempt to flee the cities and basically become refugees in their own country. This in itself presents a logistics problem. You can't feed people that you're not supplied to feed, things like that, and a lot of these groups may become aggressive. But that's a slightly different subject. I believe that the grid down targeting, even possibly hacking into our power systems, there are a lot of talented, if you want to use the word hackers out there, that can get into these power systems and really disrupt everything and cause a complete grid down, nationwide. I wouldn't expect to see that. What I do expect to see are more targeted grid downs. I expect to see the larger, more populated areas, their substations, their power stations, they're going to be targeted. It only takes a few strategically placed explosives to take out enough substations to put a city in a blackout state. And once that happens, if these groups that are rioting, if they actually become cohesive units, if they actually start working together more than they already are, we know that there is a lot of organization behind it. But if it becomes more organized, more cohesive, then this is going to be difficult to overcome. And we're going to have to be ready for this. We have to be ready mentally for this. We've already been prepping for a while. I know I've been prepping forever, and I know a lot of people that are watching this have been prepping for a while, so I don't need to tell you what you need, as far as prepping goes. We all know what we need. But the mental aspect, the thought processes, what we're going to have to do when this situation does come knocking on our door. Everybody uses electricity, whether, for the simplest means as just keeping a refrigerator running, all the way to our video games, computers, cell phones. Everything we use is reliant on electricity pretty much. Not many people use manually operated devices anymore. Most people are using electrical powered devices. And when the grid goes down, there are a lot of these devices that we haven't thought about. We haven't thought about replacing with manual devices to prep in that aspect. And this is going to present a lot of problems in just everyday living. Because I know if I was an insurgent, if I was trying to take over an area, if I was trying to wreak havoc, cause damage, the way that we see with a lot of the rioting and the proposed rioting, the things they say they're going to do, then taking out the grid is going to be one of their first targets, because it puts us in darkness and it isolates each one of us in our homes. It isolates us so that way we can be targeted by groups. This is something we have to be aware of. If the grid goes down, then it's going to become a very dangerous situation, even out in your own front yard. But this event is survivable. But we do have to be prepared. We have to have our alternate means of electricity to charge our devices so we can at least have communication. These are small solar panels and all, things like that, portable devices. For those that have solar systems in their home, then you're good to go probably, because if it is due to civil unrest as opposed to an EMP, then your solar system will be just fine and you won't lose any power. But a word of advice there, if you've got your lights on at night and everybody else has no power, expect your whole neighborhood to be knocking on your door, along with those who happen to be passing by. So be very careful. If you do have power, illuminate your homes with candles, things like that at night. Don't use your overhead lights. Don't use bright lights. Don't let people know, except for those that you trust and those that are in your group, And it's never been more important to have people on your side than it is right now. If we look at the rioting, if we look at the violence that's going on, it's not single individuals doing this. It's groups of people working together doing this. And when they come to your home, it's going to be a group of people working together to take your stuff and take your home. If they can't get it, they're very well going to burn it. And if you're there by yourself or just with your family, then you do the math on that. The odds are not very good. We have to have those that we can rely on. And this is a hard thing to do. It's not like you can just up in 2 hours and go out and form a huge prepper group with everybody that's armed to the teeth and, ready to fight and defend everything you got. That's a pretty hard thing to do. That's something that's generally built over time or either built due to circumstance. And we're in the circumstances now that even those who would not have listened to you 6 months ago or a year ago, your neighbors who know that the world is in a bad place right now, they should be a little more receptive, especially when it comes to the point of defending everything in that community. It's not just about defending what I have. It's about defending what the people around me have so that we can work together and we can survive through this event. Because this isn't like some apocalyptic movie to where I'm going to be wandering the wasteland, on my own, and I'm going to be a lone survivor and maybe run across a group here or there. Everybody in the world is still going to be alive, but now they're going to be fighting for food. Places that had a population of 2 million are still going to have a population of 2 million tomorrow when the grid goes down. It's not like this event is going to thin out the population to where you only encounter a few people here and there. No, it's going to be the same as it is today until winter comes. With the grid down and winter coming, then those in the northern states, like I'm in Michigan right now, but those in the northern states like this, If you're not prepared, then you're not going to survive the winter unless you can find someone you can rely on. And we don't want to rely on other people when we can take care of ourselves now. It could be something as simple right now as a wood burning stove, kerosene heaters, propane heaters, things like that. Something you can go out and get this weekend if you don't already have. But especially with the grid down, we know that supply chains will be completely at a standstill. There will be no more bottled water. There will be no more canned goods. There will be no more delivery of freeze-dried foods. There will be no mail. There will be no shipments. There will be nothing. What you have now is what you're going to have. And that's what we need to do, is take a look around, see the preps, the supplies that you have right now, and think, is this going to last me through the winter, at the bare minimum through the winter? Because when spring comes and the weather gets nice, then you can migrate to somewhere warmer. You can go out and hunt a little more efficiently. There are going to be more animals available. So the chances of survival in the spring, summer, and fall in a wilderness or in a urban, or in a rural type of setting, are going to be much greater than the chances of survival in the winter if you're not prepared for it. It's easy to survive in the woods. I was born in Georgia. I grew up in South Carolina. I've lived a good portion of my life literally in the woods. And that was by choice. As a kid growing up, me, my brothers, my cousins, we all, we had a lot of fun, building camps, building fires, hunting, fishing, things like that. So that way of life to me is not something I had to learn. It's not something that I had to train at. It's just a part of who I am. It's a part of how I grew up. So for me, that makes survival easy in that aspect. You always face difficulties, but I feel very confident in that aspect of survival. The hardest part of survival is when you have to factor in other people. But what I mean is factoring in other people that you're going to run across. Because you're going to run across a lot of different types of people. You're going to have people knocking on your door, especially when the grid is down. You're going to have people just plain out trying to break in, trying to overtake your home. And doing this alone, like I was saying, is going to be very difficult. So plan ahead, and one of the best things we can do to plan is to know the people around you. Make sure you have a bug out plan, but you have to have a way to get out of that area if need be, more than one way. Make sure the day before the election your vehicle is gassed up. Make sure you have enough supplies packed in your vehicle that if you have to take off at a moment's notice, that you can survive until you get to where you need to go. Make sure that those things are done. Those have to be done. If they're not, and the time comes and you need it, then it's you're going to be out of luck. And we only get one chance in a life or death situation. You only get one chance. So if you don't have what you need to survive, then it's going to be extremely difficult, especially with winter coming. Now, it's already getting pretty chilly up here. Another couple of weeks, and it'll be, freezing at night. So that's going to be difficult to survive for someone who doesn't have the skills or doesn't have the gear. You can't replace skills. You can't replace them. Skills are something you'll always have, but you can supplement them with gear. If you're not the most skilled outdoorsman, it doesn't mean you're going to die in the woods, but that's where you need to rely on your gear and make sure that you have your gear until your skills are better developed as you're surviving in that environment. So skills are extremely important. They are very important. Understanding the basic skills is very important. Being able to build fire, locate, find, build shelter, water purification, locate food, prepare food properly, and navigate. Land navigation is something that is often overlooked. A lot of people will prep and they will store years of food, but they can't read a map and compass. And it's not going to do you much good to be in the woods, to bug out to the woods, if you have no idea where you're going or how to get there. So being able to navigate with a map and compass is of extreme importance. So going back to the beginning of this video, the grid down, my friend sent me some really good information, and it really made me think about not just how possible this is, but how likely this is going to be. And I expect them to employ these tactics against the general population. I expect grid down events, maybe not nationwide, but localized. Larger urban areas, this is going to be a target. We're going to start losing electricity, which in turn is going to lose water, which in turn is going to lose heating. So this is going to cause a lot of people who are not prepared will not make it through this event. So just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I'm going down to South Carolina this weekend, so I'm right after the election, may do some live casts. We're going to be shooting some guns down there and setting off some smoke bombs. Got some smoke bombs. It's going to be pretty cool. Going to evaluate those. But I just hope that everyone has what they need because time is short. I hope you have your plans in place. I really do. I hope everybody does all right through the weekend. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope next week goes smooth for everybody. And God bless. Thank you. For now, Serious Survivor, out.